Hey there, comic book community, and welcome back to another edition of 360 Comics. My name is Joe, and today we're going to be walking through all the possible numerical grades that CGC gives comic books. This video right here might be your last chance to enter our 1,500 subscriber giveaway. We're about 10 subscribers away right now, and you don't want to miss out on your chance to win this Incredible Hulk 377 first appearance of Professor Hulk. So all you got to do is hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up for a like, and leave a comment down below. That's one entry for you, and you can go check out our other videos from the month of March for additional entries. And don't forget to follow us over on Whatnot, where we have a sale tomorrow, March 24th. You don't want to miss out on that. And on Instagram, we're going to do a sale on Friday, March 25th, the very next day. Definitely check those out. And make sure you follow on Instagram because we're announcing our 7,000 follower giveaway soon. Whether you collect slabbed or encapsulated graded comics or not, there definitely can be a list of pros and cons made about the practice of doing so. Probably the biggest downside is you can't read the comic anymore. It's stuck in there. It is imprisoned, as some people like to call it. And yeah, you can't hold it in your hands and get that nostalgia and that good feeling of flipping through the comic book yourself. But on the plus side, it is protected, it is preserved, and it has been given a formal grade. It's a lot easier to sell at whatever fair market value price is if it has a definitive grade attached to it. Now, I did not have comics for every single grade on the list. There are 25 different numerical grades assigned by CGC, in addition to a couple of letter designation grades. They used to all be NG, which stood for no grade, but they've separated it into PG, which is a single page, CVR, which is just the cover of a comic, and NG, which usually, I think they retained that for coverless books as well as wraps, not single pages, but the full wrap of a comic book or multiple wraps. That being said, starting at 0.5, the numbers ascend all the way till 10. There are a couple missing from this list, but I did borrow a couple books from my buddy Alex. Definitely follow him on Instagram at Collecting Dude. I'll point out which books are his, and you'll probably be able to tell if you know the things that I collect or if you know Alex and the things that he collect. So let's start down at the 0.5 grade and get into it. At the time of this recording, I do not have a single 0.5 graded book in my collection or in my possession, but that does not mean I'm against these by any means. In fact, I think they are a great way to pick up an affordable copy of what is sometimes a very hard book to find, a big key, a very old book, which in this case, it definitely falls into that category. We got Plastic Man #1 from way back in 1943. This is from the personal collection of my buddy Alex, like I mentioned before. And man, this is cool. Now, a 0.5 generally designates that the book is incomplete in some way, but it's mostly complete. Once a comic goes coverless, it becomes NG or no grade, like I mentioned before. But this one right here is missing the back cover. That being said, it also has some pages from another comic apparently glued to the back of the book. Very interesting circumstance. I guess someone kind of created a cover of their own from some torn up other comics. Anyway, that is besides the matter. And all that information is listed right here on the label, which is something nice that they do about these, with these lower grade books. Not just 0.5s, but also lower grade things that might have a staple missing or a cover detached, or something like that, something along those lines. They annotate that on the cover, which is really nice, especially if what is missing is inside the book and you can't see it because it's all slabbed up. Anyway, really, really cool piece right here. Yeah, like I said, I'm a big fan of 0.5s. You can often get books that sell for thousands of dollars for less than $1,000 if you grab it in a 0.5. I have a couple raws in my personal collection that I think will be 0.5s once I get the chance to send them in. Now, moving up to the lowest grade possible for a complete book, we got a 1 1.0 right here. And this is Giant Size X-Men number 1. And annotated on the cover, just like I mentioned, or on the label rather, is cover detached. So the cover is still here. It's got the front and the back cover, but that cover is detached, and that makes it as low grade as possible in this case. Not all books with the cover detached are 1.0s. I've seen them as high as 2.5s with the cover detached, and I believe they can be higher. I don't know what the lowest grade, the highest grade that a book with a detached cover could get. So if you know that information, please put it down in the comments below. I would appreciate that knowledge. Anyway, Giant Size X-Men 1. This is another one of Alex's books, a huge mega key featuring the second full appearance of Wolverine, first appearance of Colossus, Nightcrawler, Storm, and Thunderbird, and just the book that kicked off that. This wasn't a Claremont book, but it's the book that introduced this team that became the Claremont book in the next issue that came out, which was X-Men number 94. And this is just a huge grail to me, being a huge X-Men fan. If you follow my channel for a while, you know I have a really, really mega low grade raw copy. In fact, I would be extremely happy if it gets a 0.5 because it is destroyed. The back cover's missing and it has duct tape on the inside of the book. That being said, this one is certainly in better condition, and a little jealous of Alex that he has this. But hey, you know what? I'll get mine someday, probably in a higher grade than that. Next up, there were no 1.5s. Neither myself nor Alex had any 1.5s, so that would be the next logical step. And I bet you're thinking, okay, bring out the 2.0, but not everyone knows this. There actually is a grade in between 1.5 and 2.0, the elusive 1.8. Not really sure why CGC has a 1.8. Couldn't they just fit everything into the 1.5 or 2? I guess not. If you know why they instituted this grade, let me know, because I've never heard anyone give me a for sure answer as to why this grade even exists. But hey, I'm not going to complain about this not being a 1.5, which I thought it was going to be when I sent it in to get graded. Was pretty sure it was going to be that 1.5 or maybe even a 1. Was very happy with the 1.8. This is X-Men number 12, a book from my personal collection. The first appearance of Juggernaut, one of my favorite X-Men villains of all time, and just a great book. Yeah, you don't see 1.8s very often. They don't come along very often. In fact, I know someone who collects 1.8s, and you know what? Probably should ask him why those exist. But anyway, great book, awesome cover, and it's in rough shape. We can see super low grade, but that makes this book really affordable for a major key to pick up. It's hard to find this book for under $1,000, but in this condition, it probably goes for about $500 or $600. I'm not exactly sure what the market has been like recently, but yeah, I'd probably put this around right around $500. Wow, yeah, love that book, love it. Anyway, moving on to the next one, which is the 2.0, and we've got another X-Men book here, and you'll see a lot of my personal collection lower grade stuff is going to be X-Men stuff. We've got X-Men number 7, the second appearance of the Blob, who's featured very nicely and prominently on the cover here with Magneto and the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants looking on. And this is a nice solid 2.0. You can see up in the corner here we're missing a chunk. That's going to be one of the things that brings this book down a lot. And there's a couple pieces also missing on the top of the back cover, but not enough to drop it lower than a 2.0 and certainly not enough to make it incomplete. Little pieces missing like this won't call for that incomplete grade. Yeah. Awesome stuff. This is a personal collection book of mine. I got a great deal on this at ZoloCon. I bundled it together with a bunch of books last year. Not this current ZoloCon season, which just happened, but the one in 2021. And great book. We're moving up now. Moving up in the world to a 2.5. Still considered a very low grade, an entry-level copy here. Another book from ZoloCon, in fact, from the same dealer. The same year I grabbed this, Daredevil number 2. This is the second appearance of Daredevil, second appearance of Electro, and the first meeting of Daredevil and the Fantastic Four, which, that triple key significance makes this book a pretty nice one to pick up. And recently it's ended up on the hot list several times over the last year since I bought this book. And I've been really, really stoked to have it. And I even got an upgraded copy. And this one I'm probably going to be selling. I've had it up and available for a little bit. So when someone comes along and wants this one, it's going to be good to go. One of my favorite things about this cover is that Electro, you might not be able to tell, but looks like Nicolas Cage, and I'll always point that out. I think it's really funny. If you can't see it in the video, definitely look up a picture online and check it out. But yeah, the 2.5, slightly better. There's certainly lots of rips and tears around the edge. Some creases, color breaks, some fading and things like that, but there's no chunks missing on this one, which is pretty nice. But certainly a stained off-colored back, and this is an off-white pages, which is kind of the center marking for page quality there. But now we're going to move up into the 3s. We got a 3.0, and this right here is a late Golden Age book. One of only 2 Golden Age books that I'm going to be showing off today. And this actually has the old CGC label. You might notice it's a little bit different. But we got Men's Adventure number 25 with this classic shrunken head cover. And for a while, this was my oldest Slabbed comic book. I since have gotten some other Golden Age stuff that's a little bit older than this. But it is one of my favorites just because it was my first Golden Age slab, my first pre-code horror slab, and definitely one that I'm going to be keeping for a long time in my personal collection. Similar to the 2.5, there's a lot of wear and tear around the edges and color breaks and stuff like that. This one doesn't have as much staining or fading as the last book, though. That's the big difference that I'm seeing there. From what I've heard, CGC grades really harshly for staining and fading, as in it lowers the grade significantly when a book is stained or faded. So definitely something to think about when you're submitting. If you see that, you might end up with a lower grade than the book possibly presents as, and that's all part of it, just making the correct decisions about what to send in. Moving on now to the 3.5. Well, we had Daredevil number 2. Gotta show this bad boy off. We got Daredevil number 1 here. I love this book. I seriously pull it out of my box and look at it every once in a while, just because I'm so stoked to finally own this book. I've thought about it for a long time as a lower value entry-level Silver Age major key, and I finally pulled the trigger at the end of last year. You can go back and watch my video on this book, because I did an unboxing for this one alone. And yeah, that's a 3.5, and similar to the other ones, definitely some wear and tear around the edges. This one's got less color breaks than the last 2 books, and the page quality is off white to white, so a little bit higher page quality here, which, as you go up in the grades, you're generally going to see better page quality on average. But there are 9/8 books that have off-white pages, and there are low-grade books that have white pages or off-white to white pages like this one. Nonetheless, big key here. Happy to have it in any grade, and this is one, I possibly could upgrade it someday. We'll see. Now, we're going back to some of Alex's books next, and if you know him, he's a massive Green Lantern fan, so of course he's got to have this massive key right here. We got Showcase number 22, the first appearance of Hal Jordan. Great cover. So much better than Green Lantern number 1, in my opinion, as a cover of a book, and just a really classic book from, what is this, 59? Yeah. 1959, early Silver Age stuff. First appearance of a major character, a 10-cent book, and this one is in a 4.0, a very, very solid and impressive grade for this book. I was actually talking with James from Mint Hunter Comics just last night, who's another one of my friends who's a Green Lantern aficionado, big fan of the character, and he said he doesn't see this book in less than a 3.0, like 3.0 or less. I told him that I had a 4.0 that I was using for this video. He's like, man, you don't see 4.0s of that book, and you really don't. It's, tough book to get in that high of a grade. First appearance of a major character, 1950s, all that. This one looks very similar to the last one, but with just significantly less color breaking issues, especially around like in the middle of the book. Still a lot of the issues around the edges, primarily the spine, but not as many. But there is this one stain on the back. It's not too bad, but you can see it right there. It's not terrible, but the back actually looks pretty darn good other than that. So, we're getting higher up in the grades here. We're, officially, I would definitely call 4.0 a mid-grade book rather than being low grade. Getting near that 5, which is right in the middle, but hey, great one to have here. A book that I don't see very often for sale anywhere in any grade. Moving up to the 4.5, we've got a little tidier of a presentation here. Definitely more color pop, as you can see on this one, as compared to the last book. Less spine ticks, and the edges actually look significantly better on this one than the last one. But again, some color and fading and issues on the back, some staining right across the kind of just below center on this book. Might have gotten a little splash of something wet at one point. But we got Amazing Spider-Man number 78. Is this? 78. First appearance of the Prowler. I'm holding on to this one. I think this is a great book to have, especially because, Miles' uncle, the Prowler, could be something in the future of the MCU, could be something, that they just utilize at some point. Now, this isn't that exact Prowler. That's a, different universe Prowler, but the same name, and this is the origin of that character name right here. Love this cover, and actually this book presents extremely well for a 4.5, and I hear that term a lot, presents well. It means it kind of looks better than it would be. If I looked at this book, I would not expect it to be a 4.5, but CGC found some things wrong with it. The stain on the back, I'm sure, was a big detractor. Maybe if that wasn't there, this would be a 5.0 or a 5.5 or maybe even a 6.0. I'm not sure. You never know. It doesn't really have too much going on with it other than one big spine tick in the middle. But hey, it is what it is, and I'm holding on to it. Next, we're at the middle point here, the 5.0, and we've got New Teen Titans number 2, first appearance of Deathstroke. This guy I picked up off of Facebook Marketplace of all places. Just a couple months ago, I paid less than $100 for it. I can't remember exactly how much. It was either 60 or 80. And I forget. I wish I could tell you off the top of my head, but a really solid mid-grade book. This book is typically, you find it in higher grades because it's a book from the 80s. It's not super old, and you'll notice the average year, we're going to see it going up significantly from here, whereas most of the stuff before was Silver Age and some Golden Age things. We're going to be seeing a lot of bronze and then copper and modern books because obviously it's easier to get those books in a higher grade. Anyway, pick this one up. I can totally see where all the issues are. Not a lot of spine damage though, so this actually looks really nice for a 5.0. I don't think this was ever pressed. The guy selling it did not know a lot about comics, so maybe he works in antiques or something like that, and had sent this in to get graded, and it came back a 5.0. But it looks like there's pressable defects on here. So this might be one that I eventually crack, press, and resubmit. The good old CPR, which can be good if you know what to look for. So I'm going to have a couple other people that know more than me look over this book and see if it's worth doing some CPR on. But anyway, we're moving on. We're in the home stretch here with the second half going up to a 5.5. This book looks super nice for a 5.5, and I think a lot of it has to do with this corner fading right here. I think this might have been from possible water damage, and therefore the quality of this book has been lowered significantly. We got Tomb of Dracula, number 1, first appearance of Dracula in Marvel Comics, a classic Bronze Age horror book, and you can kind of see on the back here, maybe you can't. Yeah, it looks like you can probably see it. This is definitely stained a bit. So I'm thinking that corner probably was wet at some point, and that's the reason that the grade has been detracted from so much, despite this book looking pretty gosh darn solid otherwise. This may be a CPR candidate, but it also might not be. I am not one to, I'm not super knowledgeable about the topic, so I'm going to have to talk to other people to see if that is a good idea for this book, and hopefully I'll learn a little something along the way. 6.0, one of the only 3 grades. We didn't have a 1.5. We don't have a 6.0, so we're going to skip to 6.5, and you'll see what at the end what the other grade was that we don't have. But yeah, sorry, we don't have a 6.0, but we have a 6.5. And again, one of Alex's books right here, we've got Green Lantern number 59, the first appearance of Guy Gardner. Awesome cover. Actually, just a fantastic cover. Not just the angle we're looking at here, the point of view, but just the characters in awesome positions. Hal on the ground defeated, with Guy Gardner standing over him, removing his mask and saying, "Yo, I'm the Green Lantern of this earth right here." What's this from? 1968. Gil Kane and Sid Green art. Awesome stuff. That being said, this is a nice Silver Age book in a 6.5, which is pretty solid, high mid-grade. I always consider 7.0, kind of the end of high mid-grade, and maybe 7.5. But yeah, a nice copy from the 60s here. And this one certainly is looking better. Couple little spine ticks along the way, some color breaks, but it's few and far between, where a lot of the books that were below 5.0 and even in the 5.0 area, those had like ticks all over the place, or color breaks all over the place. This one, it's like a tick and then some space and then a tick and then some space, and we're getting up to those higher grades, which makes sense. And I don't really see any significant staining on this book either, front or back, which, like I said, CGC grades that pretty hard. Up next to another big Green Lantern key, again, from my buddy Alex. We got Green Lantern number 1. I personally hate this cover. Not that I hate clowns, I just think it looks so goofy. But hey, it was the Silver Age. They were trying new things. It is what it is. A 10 center from 1960? Yeah, 1960. Green Lantern number 1 in a 7.0. And just like the 6.5, few and far between spine ticks, little corner dog ear, but it's so small there, like literally half a centimeter. A little bit of color rub and other defects on the face of the cover, but a great book. I was so surprised when he pulled this out, and this book from 1960 was in a 7.0. That is difficult to find. Definitely a book for for Green Lantern fans to hop on here. Not Hal Jordan's first appearance, but first solo and first book of the second run. Also, first appearance of the Guardians of the Universe. Did not know that. And it's origin retold as well. On to the 7.5. Now we're getting up towards the the top quarter of the books. And this one, if you follow me on Instagram, you've seen this one recently because I just picked it up. We got the Amazing Spider-Man 194, first appearance of Black Cat. And this is what we call a tough book, mainly because of the black cover. Kind of the mid Bronze Age. What was this? 79. So yeah, mid to the end of the Bronze Age. But it's a black cover. Those black covers are extremely difficult. Think Ghost Rider 1. That is like, or not Ghost Rider 1. Marvel Spotlight 5, the first appearance of Ghost Rider. That is like a book everyone thinks of as a tough book because of that black cover. In fact, the 9.8 sold recently for an astronomical amount of money, even more than 9.8s of Hulk 181 sell for, and they came out pretty close to the same time, a couple years before for that Marvel Spotlight. This book all around looks pretty solid. There are some spine ticks, but again, we're getting fewer and fewer color breaks as time goes on with this video because we're going up in the grades. There is a little stain up in that corner. Might be from ink, but it might be it's probably color rub. And that's probably taken into account when grading this book at a 7.5. But I am not bummed about this copy. In fact, I paid about $400, maybe a little bit less than $400 in the bundle that I got it with. And this is a key that, it's going to go up over time, especially if this character ever comes to something live action. And you'll want to have it in a pretty decent grade, especially with that black cover. Moving up to the 8.0, this is kind of where I start to think of like the start of high grade. 8.0 is like low high grade, same with 8.5, and then 9.0 plus, obviously it has to be considered high grade. It's up there. But we got X-Men number 96. This is the first appearance of Moira McTaggart, a phenomenal supporting character that has spanned the entirety of the X-Men's existence. She showed up a bunch, whether in television, movies, all that stuff. And of course in the comics. Really cool yellow cover here. And this one looking pretty solid. I can see like one or two like color breaking significant spine ticks, but nothing like really egregious here. It's got its issues. It's got some blunting on the corners, but I think a pretty solid 8.0 at that. So we're losing a lot of the major defects as we're getting up into this high grade realm. Next, we got Spider-Man 252, a classic cover here, homaging Amazing Fantasy 15, and the first appearance of Spider-Man in the all-black suit. Great cover. One of my favorite covers ever, despite it being an homage. Definitely my favorite homage ever, without a doubt. This one's an 8.5, and similar to the last book, there are some color-breaking spine ticks, but nothing really egregious. One thing that I think brought this down a lot, and you're not going to be able to see it, but there's what looks to be a little tear in the corner here. And it looks like it not only, there's a little tear on the cover, but it looks like it goes through a couple of the pages. Sometimes this happens through handling. Other times this is a manufacturer's error. This one probably through handling. And that is probably what brings this book down to an 8.5, because other than that, I would think this book looks like a 9.2 if I didn't see that corner. So I think 2 bumps down for that might be, might be appropriate for this book. But yeah, back and front look great. Awesome book. And you can actually kind of see when I turn this around, maybe you can see it a little bit sticking out there where that little tear is, the page out of position a little bit. Now we're going up to the 9.0 territory. This is where you want to be, especially if you're doing, some long-term investing and things like that. We've got Hobgoblin's first appearance in Amazing Spider-Man 238. I just did a 252. This one, I've got the custom Hobgoblin cover with not only the image on the cover of this up here, but also the little hands pulling apart the grade. Thought that's a really nice touch that CGC put on that custom label. And this book, pretty gosh darn solid. There's a little bit of blunting in 2 of the corners. And yeah, a couple little tiny spine ticks. One of them is color breaking. The other one, there's 2 spine ticks. One is not color breaking, but I don't think this book is worth cracking out to just get like maybe a 9.2. I'm happy with the 9.0 on this one. I don't think it needs CPR. Don't think it would really be worth it to bump it from a 9.0 to a 9.2. Now, if I thought this could get like a 9.6 possibly, or even a 9.8, I certainly would be bumping this one. Or at least trying to, but I'm happy with the 9.0 here. Great book, and this is definitely one that I want to eventually upgrade and get a higher grade copy, eventually a 9.8. Next, we got Dead World number 10, and the key significance of this book actually isn't really the book itself. It is the back cover. So I'm actually going to flip this over for a second. This was the first advertisement of The Crow, just an indie book that is one of the things that I love most about this hobby, because it's such low print run, has an amazing movie starring Brandon Lee, which has a really tragic story both in the movie and in real life pertaining to the filming of the movie. And, just a great piece of history right here. First advertisement, and one of the books that Crow collectors love to grab. There are 2 variant covers of this, and this is the only one that I have. But anyway, 9.2 white pages. I can see a couple little spine ticks, but the edges and corners look amazing. So now it's just the spine ticks bringing it down from that, almost perfect 9.8, which might have some manufacturing defects, down to a 9.2. I'm cool with this one. Doesn't need CPR or anything, because the couple spine ticks are color breaking. But man, those corners are nice. The edges are nice. This is a really high grade book that I'm happy to have in my personal collection. Up to the 9.4 now. We're getting close to the top. Only a couple left. Thanks for sticking with me. We got Batman Beyond, number 0. This is the special edition, special origin issue of Batman Beyond. This was given out as a promotion a couple months after issue 1 of Batman Beyond actually came out, which is this same book, cover and all. They did a couple promotions. I think they did one for Free Comic Book Day that year to promote the run and the television show that went along with it. And then this one was given away, as you can see at the bottom over here. Six Flags gave this one away. So at theme parks, DC has a working relationship with Six Flags, so it makes sense that they promoted some of their properties there. So this is the most affordable version of Batman Beyond 1 that you can get, but in a 9.4 it's still probably a couple $100. Nice one to have. Definitely one that I'm looking to upgrade, but man, I'm holding on to this copy because I think Batman Beyond would make a phenomenal property if DC ever gets their stuff together and starts putting out better material. I think the Batman's a good start. I think it was great, and I think they can go somewhere from there. So I'll be holding on to this one. 9.4, there is one spine tick that I see right on a black part, so it's pretty noticeable. But, other than that, this is a nice looking book. One spine tick on the back as well. A little bit of color rub, maybe. Not worth the CPR again, but definitely a nice high-grade copy. And now we're moving up to the 9.6. We only got a couple left. We got Amazing Spider-Man 298. First cameo appearance of Eddie Brock. And more importantly than that, this is the first Todd McFarlane on Amazing Spider-Man. That's a big deal. He's like known for this character, known for drawing this character, known for taking over this run at this point and going for 30-ish issues, I believe. 328 was his last one, so 31 issues. Great stuff here. Classic McFarlane with how the webs are drawn. And really, that web style has gone on through the decades and been used over and over and over again since this book came out in, 88? Yeah, 1988. This is a 9.6. This is a pretty gosh darn flawless book. In fact, the only thing I really see is a little bit of blunting on the corners on the back side. The two corners on the spine side, on the back, just look a little blunted, not quite as sharp as they could be, and that's probably what dropped this guy down to a 9.6. But it's a 9.6 white pages. It is a big key, and one that I think is kind of underappreciated. This book is significantly less expensive than $2.99, which is first full Eddie Brock, first cameo of Venom. But man, I think the fact that this is Todd McFarlane's first ASM makes it a lot more important than it gets credit for. All right, moving on to the 9.8. I showed one off in the beginning, but I've got a different book, different Batman book. This one is Batman 404. First book of the year 1 storyline, Origin of Batman. And first Frank Miller writing Batman, and it's classic, David, Mazzucchelli art, which I love the covers that he did for this 4-issue run. That being said, this is a tight copy. No visible spine ticks, nice edges, sharp corners, no staining, no creases, no color breaks, nothing like that. This is what you want to see in a comic book. You want that high grade 9.8 whenever possible, especially with modern stuff. This isn't quite modern. This was Copper Age, but still, I personally, there's not a lot of books that I want from the Copper Age that aren't, 9.8, 9.6. Sometimes I'll go down to 9.4, 9.2, but typically I want them pretty high grade, unless it's like a big key. That being said, there are grades higher than this 9.8, and I've got one of them to show you right here. Glad you stuck around this far because these don't come along very often. We've got a 9.9. Now, you can see the actual colorization of the grade is gone. It's gold for 9.9s and 10s. Kind of showing that this is something really special. 9.9s and 10s are not given out very often, especially compared to 9.8s. You're going to find 9.9s and 10s way more often on lenticular covers, which have a very thick plastic cover, cardstock covers, especially foil ones like Venom Lethal Protector #1, and square bound books, but only really modern square bound books. Anything, Bronze Age and before that's square bound, good luck. Those books are impossible to get in a high grade because they got damaged very easily. Modern square-bound stuff, think like Last Ronin. There are 10.0 or 10 and 9.9 copies of Last Ronin floating around out there. Same thing with this lenticular cover, which I don't know if you really can see, but it's supposed to look 3D. Mongol covering Green Lantern. This is Green Lantern 23.2. From 2013, part of that New 52 run. They did a bunch of lenticular covers for that. So these lenticulars, it's not like they always get 9.9s, but they're common enough that it's not like crazy, like a book from the 80s getting a 9.9 or the 70s getting a 9.9. Those are significantly more rare. But yeah, something cool to look out for. I don't have any 9.9s in my personal collection, so again, this is from my buddy Alex. And neither of us had a 10-0 or a 10. I keep saying 10-0, but it's just called a 10. There's no decimal point there. That being said, we're at the top of the list now. Look out for those 10s. They're hard to find. Maybe I'll own one someday. Maybe I won't. I'm fine with my 9/8s. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Definitely a little bit of different style. I kept it all with the blue labels this time, but maybe we'll dive into different color labels for, a future slab video. And if you like this, please let me know in the comments down below. And of course, entering the giveaway can get you that Hulk 377 that I'm going to be giving away. Definitely don't miss out on that. Check us out on other social media. And until next time, turn the page, wash your hands.